And I think we're live. Finally. Oh, Jenny, I'm so sorry. Everyone, this is the wonderful thing about doing a live show, is that sometimes the technical gremlins decide it's time to play and time to not let us do what we want to do. So apologies if you've been waiting with your lunch or a brew to watch us, but we're here now, aren't we, Jenny? Finally.
We are, and we are all the more potent for having stewed for about 20 minutes trying to get the thing to work,
Yes.
so the technology to work. So we are here. So unusually for us, we're going to be on the money and really succinct, aren't we, Rach?
We are. Yes, we are, Jenny. We really are. So on that note, today is going to be the first of our themed sessions that we've been threatening for quite a while, actually, haven't we? But we finally decided what we're going to do in terms of the themed sessions. So we're starting today with positive habits, which is something that does come up quite a lot when we're talking. So it makes absolute sense that we would devote a session to it. So let's dive straight in then. My first question for you, Jenny, is why is habit forming such a positive practice?
I think if you'd asked me that 5 years ago, I would have said, I'm really not a fan of routine. I don't like planning. I want to be free to do whatever I like when I like. And then I realised that actually all of us have all of us have some habits that we've had since children, like cleaning your teeth, brushing your hair, making your bed, all of those things. And that actually what daily habits do is provide a really positive structure to our lives, because when we're really busy, it can be easy to let positive practices, whether it's about our health, our happiness, whatever it is, it's really easy to let those practices slide. And I certainly have been guilty of that. So I think the power of positive habit forming and making it part of an explicit part of your life is really, really important.
Yes, definitely. And I think for me, the thing that I would say is it actually helps you learn. It helps you learn more things about yourself, about what suits you, about what you're actually capable of putting in place. I've found it to be a real kind of self-affirming thing to realize that I can put these practices in place. In moments of doubt where things aren't quite going the way you'd like them to, it's a good idea to remind yourself that actually, these things are possible. So once you've done it once, you can do it again. So that's a really good thing.
So my question, building on that, is around the transition. I think it's safe to say that we are transitioning from summer into autumn.
Although the transition seems to have been rather quick and not much of a transition, just one to the other.
So it's a transition that I always fight every year, and I lose the battle every year. So I don't know why I do it, but I still do it. So my question is, for you, Rachel, is about what are the tweaks that you make to your habits when you're moving from season to season?
Okay. Oh, I'm just typing that in so I can put it on the screen from season to season. See, this is how you can tell it's live, folks, because I don't have Jenny's questions in advance. I type them as I go. Where's it disappeared? Okay. Show it on the screen. There we go. What are the tweaks you make to your habits when moving from season to season? I think that's a really interesting one. I mean, the perhaps the most obvious answer for most people is the sorts of clothes that you're wearing. You tweak what your habit is. And I realized this last sort of week or so, or maybe a bit longer, of this horrible weather that we've been having, all the clothes that are at the top of the pile are shorts and vests and sleeveless tops and all this sort of thing. And I was even in shorts yesterday. I will admit, I'm not today, but I was yesterday, because I'm trying to hang on to summer as long as I possibly can. I refuse to believe that that this is it now. And I did notice that in about a week's time we're supposed to have some nicer weather again, so I was still kind of hanging on that I might be able to wear shorts again, maybe. And I am being forced to wear flip-flops at the moment due to my silly broken toe that happened on Monday, which we've already discussed separately. But yes, that's perhaps one of the more obvious ones, though. Clearly there's lots of other, if I'll throw it back to you, I'm sure you've got some other gems that go a bit further than just the clothing choices.
Well, the one I think about is that I've just started. I had a sort of teenage and toddler tantrum combined around walking, and so I used to have a very good habit of walking 20,000 steps a day. First thing in the morning. I did it the whole of lockdown. It was really ingrained, and then for reasons we don't need to go into, I had a complete tantrum where I'm not doing it anymore. I've had enough. I'm done. I'm done. And obviously that lockdown was quite a long time ago now, and I have remained bastardly, no, I'm done. I'm fed up with it. I don't want to do it anymore. And then I was questioned in a coaching session yesterday about the longevity of my toddler tantrum, and it said it sounded more like a teenager. So what was really at the bottom of this refusal to get back into the habit that I know that actually is really good for me, and it was something really simple. It was like, I don't want to do it by myself. And so putting those things in place, and so we went back to, what did you used to do? Because didn't you used to do it by yourself in lockdown? Well, yes, I did, but of course in lockdown what I did was I had a number of people who we were all walking separately, so we used to do a group chat on our walk, and of course we stopped doing that when we went back to the new normal. So I think it's about remembering what are the useful things that you have used before that work, exactly in the same vein as we know that jumpers, cardigans are helpful in the season. Actually, there are other things, so it's not just the habit, but it's what keeps the habit fresh and what keeps it live for you. Is also about understanding what are the component parts of it that make it worthwhile doing. Absolutely.
Definite food for thought there. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so my next question for you, Jenny, is what would you recommend in terms of useful resources about habits? If people are interested in finding out a bit more.
I think there are a number of well, there's any number of books around habits, isn't there? I've read quite a few over the years. My favourite is still The Atomic Habits by James. I've forgotten his surname. Everybody knows Atomic Habits, don't they? I do love it. But I think there are also, when we talk about resources, thinking about, there are podcasts, there are people are resources. So actually, one of the things that it's a person, I have an accountability buddy, which is brilliant. I love the concept, and so we support each other. So it's a hugely valuable resource in terms of supporting habits.
Yeah, absolutely, and I would echo that massively. I'm part of a coaching program with the wonderful Taz Thornton. Quick shout out there, go and check her out, tazthornton.com, which started this month, and already there's only a small number of us in the group, but already just in the first week since we started, we're all using that group for accountability in terms of getting work done, in terms of morning routine, getting up, having some water, doing some exercise, having some breakfast, doing our gratitudes, doing these things, these habits that is what we're here to talk about. So accountability for that is definitely a wonderful thing. And in terms of resources, to go back to what you first mentioned with regard to books, there's a fantastic book called The Consistency Chain for Network Marketing. Now, you could change the title of that book to The Consistency Chain for Life, The Consistency Chain for Business. You could change it to whatever suits your circumstance. And it just talks about the fact, it talks about consistency as a chain, a day-by-day chain, that every day you do something, that's another link in your chain. And for some people it works really well because it's, you know, it suggests having that visual reminder each day, something you can tick off, or, you know, put a line or whatever it is for each day to say, yes, I did it today. But the biggest thing I really liked about it was, if you miss a day, don't give up. Don't beat yourself up about it. Don't give up. Oh, well, I've missed a day, so I might as well just give up now. No, the next day, you only ever have to worry about one day at a time. So the next day, start again. You know, you might be starting your chain again, but you've not given up. And I think that's a great way of looking at it, because it's a bit less pressure. Some people find it a bit overwhelming, the pressure of trying to keep something up for a long time. So if you're just focusing one day at a time, I think that's a really good way to do it. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
And also that habit stacking. So actually,
yes,
you can start with a little thing. So it's sometimes when you know, we don't all have to run marathons. Sometimes it's that taking that first step. So the first step is digging out your gym kit. It might sit on the end of your, you know, dresser for a week. But it's in your eyes, so your brain is preparing and noticing it. Then you put it on, hopefully it still fits. And then you start with a walk around the block, and it's the physical, the small steps that you take and you build. So you don't have to. It doesn't have to be a huge, it doesn't have to be a huge thing. So you can build tiny habits. That's another good book. Are really useful. So yeah. Little things are as important as big things.
Yes, definitely. Great message. Okay, what have you got for me?
Well, this might be quite a quirky question.
Ooh, we like quirky.
So I saw this. I'm in a co-working space today, and they have a word of the week. And their word of the week this week is disavow.
Okay.
And I don't know if you are familiar with that word.
Yes.
But I thought, what my question is, can you put that in a sentence that would also link to our habits theme?
Okay.
And is it so for the people for whom that isn't a familiar word? It basically means to not take responsibility for. So you're not taking any responsibility. So I thought that was quite useful potentially in a sense around habits.
Okay. Oh, interesting. That's definitely a quirky one, and quite a challenging one as well, I think. So disavow, not taking responsibility. Okay. God, that's really making the grey matter work. So I would say something along the lines of setting intentions. So if you don't set positive intentions for the outcomes that you seek, then you might as well disavow yourself of the outcome.
Oh, that's so good, Rach. Well done. Very impressive. That's lovely. You see?
Oh gosh, that was a challenge. Oh, we've got someone watching. Hello. We can't see who it is, so do pop us a comment if you want to get involved in the conversation. Can't see who you are. Yeah, I hope that worked.
It did. Absolutely. Just such a beautiful example of the use of that word.
Yes.
So yeah,
I imagine if that's word of the week in the co-working space you're in, I imagine you've heard it a few times. So what would be your example? What's the best one so far?
Be Oh, I wrote it down and now I've lost it. There we are. I've just yeah. Failing to plan, disavows results.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're on the same page again.
And if you
Funny
do that, if I disavow all activity, then actually I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although we don't like blame, we're not really we're not a blamey show, are we, in any way, shape, or form?
No, definitely not. No.
So I think we'll stick to that kind of, it's the one or the other, isn't it? When you
yeah. Okay, brilliant. I like that one. That was interesting. Okay, so my next question, can you give us an example of when a situation where a positive habit has really helped you in that situation?
It might be glaringly obvious, but it's so powerful. So I think probably like you, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is my gratitude. So my 5 things that I'm grateful for before I get out of bed. So my 5 things that I'm grateful for, which I love doing and it's fun. And then my second one, which I think has had probably the most profound impact, and I've kept it going for a long time, is that I intentionally choose my attitude every morning when I'm in the shower. And it is an intention. It's an intentional choice. And I'm not saying that sometimes that attitude lasts all day. Sometimes it maybe doesn't last all day. But it is a daily action. It's quite a small thing, but it can have such huge positive impact. And it's something that other people notice. So I think it means a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see why. I mean, I'm sure both of us and anyone watching is probably got lots of different examples of all sorts of different things where those positive habits can help. I think the most resounding one for me is that since bringing regular gratitudes into my routine, into my habits, when things get tough, as they inevitably do, whether that's life or business, generally speaking, it means it doesn't mean that I don't get upset by things, I don't get disappointed by things, I don't have the odd bit of self-doubt. But since bringing gratitude into my routine, I'm so aware of the fact that there is always something to be grateful for. So even when life is really challenging, and it has been really quite challenging at times this year, I'll be the first to put my hand up and say I've had some counselling this year because I felt overwhelmed. And the theme throughout that, I guess, is that even when things seemed really, really tough, I couldn't always see it in the moment, but if I gave myself time and space to do so, I could still see that there was plenty of positive things in my life to be grateful for. And I think, whilst that in itself wasn't necessarily the thing that brought me out the other side, I think it had a huge part to play because my outlook is that, and I'd say it so often to other people that, even when things are really awful, there is always something to be grateful for. And I think if even saying that in itself has perhaps become a habit, which I was then able to reflect back to myself and actually believe it. I'll admit there were moments where I didn't believe it, but I'm human, and when you're feeling overwhelmed with something, you do sometimes need to be able to sit in that feeling of overwhelm to understand it, but then to move yourself out of it and through it, that knowledge that there is always something to be grateful for has just made such a positive difference to my life. So it's always something that I share with others in the hope that it can achieve the same for them as well.
Brilliant. Absolutely. So as
Yeah.
always.
Right, I believe it's time for your next question.
So
Is this the last one?
yeah,
This is the last one. Goodness,
question,
we're on a roll.
we are. My last question is about seeking help. So where do you go for help when you need it, either to reinforce your habit or to help you with a habit, or when you've got in your own way. So where do you go for help? What sort of help do you access when you where do you get it from?
Okay, I guess that's probably a multifaceted answer, because there's no one special place necessarily, and one, golden bullet, if you like. I suppose the key thing really is family and close friends. I think sometimes even just having that conversation to offload whatever's on your mind can just make such a difference. But equally, as mentioned previously, this year in particular, a few months ago, I realised that I needed a bit more than that. I needed, I'm having coaching, and that's been an enormous help. But I also felt that counselling was appropriate at that time, because I had to accept that I wasn't perhaps coping as well as I might like on my own with the thoughts I was having. And I think sometimes it's not that it's putting the responsibility for making it better on somebody else, but it's just letting go to a degree and thinking to yourself, okay, it's okay to not be okay. That, I know that's a bit of a cliche these days, but it is okay. And to have a third party to be able to speak to that's not involved with the situation, I think, that proved to be absolutely invaluable to me, and a really useful tool for reflecting things back at me, and actually, holding up the mirror so I could kind of be seeing my truth, but also to reflect back at me that these habits that we talk about that I have in place, that actually the things I've learned through doing these habits and through personal development actually put me in a really good place to be able to help myself. So, counselling isn't supposed to be about anyone telling you what to do anyway. I know that, but it was a very empowering experience, because it was reflected back at me. But you have this in place, you have that in place. Your way of dealing with X, Y, Z is really positive, because, and a lot of it came back to the positive habits, whether it's around gratitude, self-care, all these different things. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, folks. There's lots of help out there, isn't there? And I'm sure, Jenny, you can share with us some other ways of getting help as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing your network, and I don't know about you, Rachel, but I have different networks for different things.
Yes.
So that just as there isn't one form of help, there are different people for whom you can. So there's official, counselling, coaching, therapy kind of help. There's also that space to talk. Sometimes just changing your environment, going for a walk, changing where you work, meeting other people, because usually in your networks there will be people who have had similar experience to you, or completely different experience from you, who can offer support and space. Sometimes you don't want a solution, you just need space. And my silly example has nothing to do with habits today, but it is that or does it? I don't know. So my fire alarm, my fire alarm thingy was beeping, and I just couldn't get it to stop beeping. I couldn't work out how to open it. I've opened it before a million times. I knew it, but I couldn't remember how to do it. And I was coming to this meeting today and I thought, do you know what? I think I need a screwdriver, but that seems weird. And I thought, but I'm just going to bring it with me because the person I'm meeting just is the most amazing quick fixer of things. And sure enough, we all had to go. We all did the same thing. We couldn't work it. And then there was somebody else in the co-working space and we asked them and it was a man, and he said, oh, you just need to push here. And of course I had pushed there, but I just hadn't been brutal enough.
Yes.
Just get it open really easily. And it would have been easy to be embarrassed because it was a really stupid, simple solution that I should have worked out. But actually, because of the environment I was in, actually we all had a great laugh and went, you know what? The important thing is not how it was solved or who solved it. Fact that beeping is no longer happening. Although one suggestion was to go to the fire station and have a fire crew come out and check my house, which I thought was quite handy, but I didn't.
Well, that's never a bad suggestion. Yeah,
never a bad suggestion, is it? So I think we can get into a habit of thinking that we have to do it all by ourselves, and that actually we have to be okay all of the time, and actually in life, you know, sometimes shit happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
In life, actually knowing who you can rely on for help and support is a really good habit to have.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what screams at me from what you've just said is human connection and the importance of that in whatever form. It's about the human connection, isn't it?
Absolutely, completely and utterly. Yeah.
Brilliant. What a great way to end. I absolutely love that. Oh dear. Well, thank you for bearing with us with the technology gremlins today that made us start about 20 minutes late, but we got there in the end, and we've been really succinct today, Jenny, so pat on the back for both of us. Well done us. If anyone's got any comments or questions, as always, please put them in. We love to carry the conversation on, and we'd love to know what's worked for you, if anything we've talked about has resonated. And you'll be excited to know that we have various themes coming up in the next few months. So just to give you a little bit of a taster, the next theme we will be talking about is fear, which is, I imagine, something that's comes up for everyone in one way or another. And we will be covering that in the next show, actually, on the 4th of October. Oh, and it's Nikki that's been watching, Nikki Fish. Hi, Nikki. Thank you for watching. And she says, love this, ladies. So brilliant. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. So, yeah, tune in 2 weeks' time on the 4th of October to hear us talking about fear. And just to give you an idea, we've got a few other themes coming up after that, including things like perfection and people pleasing. So if you would like to hear more, then you know where to be. Every other Tuesday at 12:30, usually at 12:30, when the technology works. And you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. So we shall look forward to seeing you again. And I can't even speak. As ever, Jenny. Oh, Nikki's very interested in both of those. So we'll keep you posted, Nikki. But obviously the 4th October for the next one. But as ever, Jenny, it's been an absolute pleasure to see you. Apologies again for the tech issues on my end. And I shall very much look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks.
Likewise, Rachel, always a joy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay habitful.
Yes, absolutely.
See you next time. Take
care,
everybody.
Take care all. Bye.
Bye.